I mean, I think from a returner standpoint, I think we have a young room, so I think we have a lot of promising young players that are coming in and have all the ability in the world, and they've been developing, but to answer your question, just the addition, we had to add some experience to be able to come and develop, and so the focal point on the additions that we had to be able to make is, we wanted to be able to add quality players who could come in, who have been experienced, who have played some football, had some production, but we were still hungry and looking to develop and grow their role. And so we had to add some pieces of experience to bring the younger ones along. But I like where we're headed. I like where the young ones are coming along and moving. And I like also with the additions on how they're leading and coming in and setting really the tone and the tempo for how winning football and what you're supposed to do and how you're supposed to do it.
And how does the linebacker group fit in with what Coach Dewhurst is hoping to do defensively?
Yeah, so we got a mic and a wheel. We put a good amount of communication on the mic, and so the mic is kind of the quarterback and the voice of the defense. And so number one job of our mic linebacker has to be able to communicate. We do a number of different things. We're going to be flexible in our scheme, and so he's got to be able to communicate. He's got to be able to man and operate inside the box and be able to play, for sure, tackle to tackle, but then also be able to have range to move out on the perimeter when we're playing some of these offenses that are going to spread it out. And I'd say what we're looking for in the will linebacker is, our will linebacker, just the way we align him, he can line inside the box. He'll be out the first one outside of the box based on the formation, and so he's got to be able to play in space a little bit as well. And so aside from just patrolling on the perimeter, he's also got to be able to have some pass rush ability. And so our will linebackers, we try schematically to be able to attack matchups more so than bringing numbers and overpopulating it with pressures. We're trying to stress protections and we're trying to get matchups. And so we're trying to get that will linebacker up on running backs and against one of their lower level protectors more times than not. And so the will has to be able to have pass rush ability as well. And so that's kind of what we look for in those two positions.
That linebacker position seems to be one that Florida players move into well at the collegiate level.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've recruited down here in the past. Is that something that you're seeing, is that they're picking up what you need to get done?
Yeah, well, one thing that is prevalent all the way across the board, just whether it's on the recruiting trail or with the people that we have in our linebacker room, is kids that play football around here, they like to run and hit, and it's the ingredients. You got to be able to pull your trigger, be able to get up on the football, and then your attitude when you arrive at the football has to be physical. And in no way, shape, or form do we have anybody in our room that does not abide by that. So, like I said, it's been all over the recruiting trail. It's been all with our young players. It doesn't matter if they're young, they're veterans. The ability to run and hit is very prevalent.
Two of the guys that we got today, one of them is back there now.
Yeah.
Returner, Sharquez. I believe he's the second year, right, Sharquez?
Yes, sir.
And then your transfer, Mr. Stolsky.
Sure.
Can you give us a little bit on each of them?
Yeah. So I guess starting out with Quez, I think he had played some will. He'd played outside the box for the majority of his career, whether it was in high school or in his last years here as well. We kind of moved him over to Mike. Kind of per the question before, the number one thing they got to be able to do is communicate, and Quez has handled that beautifully as far as getting into that role and communicating. Great demeanor, and then the one thing that you don't have to teach Quez is to be able to be physical in the box. He's going to communicate, he's going to get the front declared and set, and when the ball moves, he's going to show up the ball in with the right attitude and effort. And so he jumped right into the role. He had a great winter. He came along, jumped right into the mic position, like I said, from a communication standpoint. Of all of them, I was excited to be able to watch him play in the spring and be able to talk to his pads a little bit, and he's done that great.
And Tyler?
And then Tyler, Tyler's a kid that, we had to bring in, and per the question before, we had to have somebody that had experience, somebody who has been around high-level football and come in and kind of lead. We have a very young group, and so, he's been in a winning program. He knows what it's supposed to look like. He's been around some good players and had great mentors in his first years over at Minnesota. And he just kind of fit the characteristic of, coming in and developing that workmanship mentality and attitude. And we needed somebody to come in and assume themselves in a leadership position, which, he's done a phenomenal job. Whether it's, on the field, communicating, staying positive, all those things, or off the field, just putting in the extra time, bringing kids in to work on extra technique work or understanding the scheme a little bit in and out a little bit better. He's done a great job of kind of setting the tone and tempo for the room, which is what we need, because we have all the ingredients we need, but we just need to get them up to speed with experience and learning the right way, because we got some really fun and exciting young players that are great to coach.
From a teaching standpoint, what kind of been the goal here before the spring game, especially having that young group?
Yeah, I mean, I think like the part that I really love, we just kind of went through the last part of it, is just the situational football part of it. Getting, not just what I have to do for my job, what everybody else has to do in our room ultimately as a defense, but then also holistically when you have to do it and how the situations come about and what goes into that. Just staying ahead of the call. Today we had the 2-minute drill, we had the 4-minute drill, we had the 2-minute drill, we had short yardage goal line, which I think we're 10 practices in, and I think we're just about towards the end of the situational part. So just using that football intelligence of what the situation dictates as well, not just so much what I have from a responsibility standpoint, but also what the situation is, to be able to stay ahead of the down and assume my responsibility to be able to give us the best opportunity to be able to win that situation, which ultimately usually ends up in winning football games, is understanding the situation and applying the concept based on the situation.
Coach, I know a lot of this term gets thrown around a lot with linebackers, that they want their linebackers to be feared. Would you say that's accurate with your group, and that's what you want them to be like?
Yeah, I mean, I believe in everybody on the defense, but everybody obviously in linebacker room. I mean, you have to be able to play green, and you have to play fast, you have to play physical. When we're looking at who we're putting in the game and who's going to represent our team out there on defense and ultimately our room as well. I mean, you have to be able to understand that this game is a physical game, and there has to be a toll that's played. And so everybody that steps on the field has to be able to understand that we're going to play fast, we're going to play with conviction, we're going to play with physicality and fanatical effort. So, and that's all the way across the board, I would say, from a defensive standpoint. You can make a lot of wrong decisions right just by playing hard and playing the right way. No game, no practice is perfect, but if you can generate that energy and play with the right physicality and the right energy and effort, you can make a lot of wrong decisions right.
And what do you think makes the most elite linebacker units elite?
Yeah, I mean, I think we talk a little bit about being a 4-dimensional player. So just knowing what you have to do, knowing what your room has to do, knowing what the whole defense has to do, but then also ultimately getting to that level to where you're 4-dimensional, you know what the offense is going to do in that situation. And so I think elite level linebacker play, if you're going to have the green dot on your helmet and you're going to be the central communicator of the defense, you have to be able to make sure that you're staying ahead of the call, staying ahead of the situation, because the margin for error in college football, especially in big football games, which every week in and week out, especially in this league it's the 1 to 2 plays that make the difference. And in order to stay ahead of it and stay at an elite level, you have to perform in those moments, which I think Coach Kelly's done a masterful job of incorporating situational football just about in every single practice that we're doing. There's a situation that comes up that we're putting our kids through, and it's not just so much about the scheme, but it's understanding the situation and what technique to apply during that time. Talking about elite, that's the difference that would separate, good, great, and, elite.
And have you thought about, I know in the league now there's going to be 3 teams that run the option with
Sure.
Army, Navy, Rice, and then teams like South Florida will run this kind of a veer and shoot kind of maybe.
Yeah.
Have you thought about just the difference in kind of the offense you're going to play and trying to just get players acclimated to that right now?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't done anything with our players.
Yeah.
We always do a preview after the spring. We'll kind of move forward into the next season of the off season. After spring football is done, we'll go on the road and we'll do our forward scout with our opponent scout, and that's kind of in the off season. But I think really prior to talking about just the scheme, it's just being accountable and being disciplined, being consistent over a quarter, over a game, long periods of times where everybody's executing. And then when we get to the off season, and we really dive into the option part and schematics of what we're going to do and how we're going to attack that offense. We'll get into that in the off season. We'll spend a little bit of time in the summer going through what we're going to do schematically and just previewing what we're going to do, because it is different. But I think it's the great, I mean, the good and bad thing about the league is you can see just about everything, you know, offensively that you could possibly see. And to be honest, we see it with our offense too. And we see up tempo, we see open sets, we see, you know, 11 looks, we see 12 looks, we see big personnel. I mean, we're going to see a lot of different offenses just from our practices and playing versus, you know, Coach Kitley and their offensive scheme. So, and then the option is just another part of it. So.
You've been around some pretty high level linebacker units in your time as a coach. With this unit, is there any kind of knowledge you've been trying to impart on them that, like, hey, if you do this, you'll have a better shot of getting to the next level?
Yeah, I mean, I think just per the question before, like just taking that next step, and obviously, you know, we're kind of implementing our scheme and our systems and the way we do things right now, and so it's everybody's kind of really second time hearing it from winter to spring, and then we'll do it again in the summer, we'll do it again in the fall and the season. But I think just the faster we can move forward to the situational part of it, I think that is just such a critical piece, and just understanding what, like I said, not just what we're doing on defense, but staying ahead of it and what the offense can do. And I think just continually taking it day by day and growing and investing, whether it's techniques, and then just following up with when you're supposed to, when you need to use those, and use your football intelligence to be able to put yourself in an advantageous situation whenever those arise. Whether it's 2 minute, whether it's 4 minute, whether it's short yardage, whether it's goal line, whether it's 2-point plays, whatever it is, just understanding, getting to that point to where you can now apply and you know what you have, and you can move forward to what the offense is doing to kind of attack you and staying ahead.
It kind of sounded like, based off your answer before with Charquez's communication, he might be the leader in the clubhouse right now with potentially wearing that mic come the season. Has there been any thought to that, or is that really too early right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, our mic, that we put majority of the communication on the mic. So Tyler wears the green dot, Quez wears the green dot as well. Just the central location where they are physically, what we put on them from a front standpoint, and then just having them be the sole communicator of the defense. They can reach all levels. And so, absolutely, I mean, we're going to stay with it at the mic position, and we're going to put that on, and we're going to kind of push and continue to stress all of them to continue to keep moving forward from a communication standpoint, because you can never, there is no over communication in football. So you look at any of the great ones that play in the league right now, I mean, they're trusted with it, they take pride in it, and you know, they see themselves as a coach on the field, and we're going to continue to push those guys to get to that level.